Good morning, everyone. I would like to recognize that we, the City of Vancouver, are situated on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We're fortunate to operate business on these sacred lands, where we strive to make our workplaces more sustainable, safe, and healthy. Before I get started, I'd like to remind the participants to keep their mics muted during the presentation and keep the messages in the chat respectful. Also, you can turn your cameras off for the duration of the presentation. It may reduce the risk of crashing during the meeting, just in case. My name is Simon. I'm representing the City of Vancouver's Sustainable Commute program, presenting today on how your workplace can use transit as a clean and affordable method of commuting. I'm joined here by James and Zach from TravelSmart, and Esteban from Commutifi. I'm also being supported here by my colleague, Chloe. VanGO is the city's transportation demand management program for organizations where we try to encourage employers to make a switch to more sustainable and healthy transportation options. I'm also joined here in partnership with TravelSmart with TransLink, the region's TDM program. So we're really excited to present to you today, and we thank all of you, organizations small and large, for attending. Here, just a snapshot of the diverse group of organizations attending today's webinar that we're able to identify. We were only able to identify this group about a week ago. So if you're missing from this slide, I just wasn't able to identify you based on your email address. I would also like to emphasize my gratitude for showing up today and hoping that you get something useful out of today's session. So the agenda for today includes an overview of the VanGO and workplace commuting benefits, the transit-friendly employer program presented by TransLink, 2 TFE testimonials by Melanie, Auld Jewelers and YVR. Next, Esteban from Commutifi will provide an overview of the Commutifi pilot. And finally, there will be a prize draw and a chance to win up to $100 of Compass Card value, followed by a short question period. VanGO and TravelSmart offer a variety of services, programs, and information for employers. In short, we hold webinars on how to make your commute more healthy and sustainable like this one. We connect you to certifications that recognize organizations offering significant benefits to employees and customers. We connect organizations to information toolkits, travel planning, and education. For example, we have recently developed a toolkit or self-help guide called the Sustainable Mobility Toolkit for Employers. We run and promote cycling and walking campaigns to encourage healthy commuting, such as Go by Bike Week and Walk 30. We develop and promote pilot programs that incentivize active travel, and we work with many NPOs, organizations, businesses, and other stakeholders like Hub Cycling, BIAs, and various organizations. So more and more people in the region are making the switch to more alternative modes to the private automobile, and workplaces and building managers are looking for ways to make their place of work more attractive to skilled workers. Just to name a few, offering transportation benefits to employees like transit passes, a MobiPass, bicycle parking, and other workplace perks could lead to greater job retention, improved well-being and productivity, attracting a wider, more diverse talent pool, reducing the days sick days taken by staff, meeting sustainable targets by reducing GHG emissions, reducing traffic congestion, and reducing personal transportation costs. It's also worth noting that behavior change is more easily influenced during major life changes, such as coming back to work after the pandemic or moving office locations. There are many transportation options available to your organization, and the suitability of these solutions depend on various factors, like where your employees work, the distance from work and the time it takes by a particular mode, the level of service of that transportation option, such as whether the bus arrives frequently and whether it's fast and reliable, the availability of services, such as whether you're within a walking distance to a bus stop or a station or located on the frequent transit network, the quality of the infrastructure, such as whether there are separated bike lanes, Availability of end-of-trip facilities such as secure bike parking and change rooms, the cost of these modes like transit fares, parking fees, and maintenance, as well as other, personal preferences and whether the trip is comfortable or not, um, ability of that person, and the value of your time. We know car ownership is really expensive. The cost of gas, parking, insurance, and maintenance are really adding up these days. Studies have shown that these actions, particularly those that incorporate financial incentives or disincentives, such as commuter benefits and parking pricing, are the most cost-effective at encouraging the switch to clean modes of transport. But before proposing any options for your workplace, your organization should better understand the unique travel context through a workplace survey, pinpoint any of those barriers such as cost, infrastructure quality, and security, and recommend those tangible solutions which reward your employees for positive behaviors. Known as the backbone of transportation, transit is today's commute option of discussion. Did you know that transit subsidies are the #1 incentive selected by employees to help improve their commute? Also, subsidizing transit passes by less than a quarter of the cost doubles the chance an employee becomes a transit rider. From buses to SkyTrain to SeaBus, transit is an excellent mode for medium to long range trips. And transit is easily paired with bicycles, mobility aids, and walking. Some people derive some personal benefits like time to unwind, reading, and catching up on emails on transit. Luckily, the city of Vancouver has some of the best transit in North America with a wide range of frequent, fast, and comfortable transit options. Take a look at the network on the right. All of the orange lines are part of the frequent transit network, meaning the transit arrives every 15 minutes or less during peak and daytime hours, 7 days a week. Next, I'm going to pass over the mic to Zach and James from TravelSmart, where they will present the transit-friendly employer program.
All right, Simon, thank you very much for the introduction, and welcome everybody to the VanGO webinar. We're really excited to have you here, and we're looking forward to sharing some information about the Transit-Friendly Employer Certification. Those of you that are on the call, I do see that we have a couple that are already transit-friendly employers, so you're likely familiar with the program. For those that are less familiar, Transit-Friendly Employer is a recognition opportunity that was launched back in November of 2022. And the general aim was to encourage employers around the Lower Mainland to position transit as a benefit to staff. Some of the challenges that many of you may have experienced around staff retention, around health and wellness, and even just the general transition back into the office can be remedied through the TransLink for Organizations program, which would allow you to provide transit benefits to staff. And then for the corporate image, having a transit-friendly employer certification is a really helpful way to not only provide transit as a benefit, but to really encourage other employers around the Lower Mainland to think in a similar way. So the way that transit-friendly employer works in order to qualify is that you would need to offer at least a 50% transit subsidy to employees for an extended period. This can be in the form of either 50% subsidy of a monthly pass, or this could be in the form of a $50 stored value amount, which is roughly half the cost of a monthly pass. For larger employers who are comprised of 200 or more, you would need to enroll at least 10% of staff for a minimum of 6 months in order to maintain the certification. For smaller employers that are comprised of less than 200 employees, then at least 25% of staff would need to be enrolled, and there's no minimum commitment to joining. As of June 2023, we have 14 certified members labeled as transit-friendly employers. In April, that the number of enrollees collectively came out to just a little over 3,100, which has now actually reached a bit more around 3,300 to 3,400, and the number continues to grow over time. In terms of the benefit to employers, what the one main thing that I can definitely say that employers would benefit the most from is recognition from TransLink and from the public. So on our end, from TransLink, we can offer you recognition in various forms. That could be through recognition on our website, which is the most common. If you have a company logo that you'd like to upload and share with the community that you're a transit-friendly employer. We also have opportunities through our social media team to be able to tell stories that are impactful. For example, if you happen to have an employee that used to drive every single day to work and is now receiving a transit benefit and has found that to be beneficial to their health and well-being, these are the types of things that we love to spotlight and to recognize. Another element to this as well is TransLink will support you with recommended quotes and recommended messaging if you'd like to promote yourself via your own channels of communication. And the other benefit to becoming a transit-friendly employer is that you will receive a digital marketing stamp, which essentially looks like the box-shaped logo there in the picture, which you can then use as a badge asset. You can promote this on your website, you can promote this on social media, or any other channel of communication that you feel would be beneficial to you. Another area which I'll allow James to touch on a bit as well is that we do have multiple partnerships with external organizations that specialize in different areas of the transportation sector. This can range from bike sharing to carpooling, van pooling, parking management, and any other resources that go beyond transit passes. And as a transit-friendly employer, you are part of a network that would allow for you to take advantage of those resources. This could range from consulting style support to tailored discounts to potentially even creating a separate type of program for your employees to take advantage of these resources. So James, I'll let you speak to some of our partnerships, given your history with the TDM team.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate that. Or did you want to speak to this slide as well, or can we move on to the next one?
So this slide, for everyone's reference, which we can just keep up on the screen for a few minutes, outlines the steps to becoming a transit-friendly employer, which you're welcome to take note of. If anyone here has questions about how to qualify, we do have our contact info on the screen as well, which is travelsmart@translink.ca. And we're happy to send you a PDF copy of the flow chart that you see here, which essentially outlines the steps to being vetted as a transit-friendly employer and maintaining your eligibility.
Great, thanks, Zach. If we can just transition over to the next Commutifi slide. Thanks, got it. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the call. My name's James Ranson. I work in the TDM team, the TravelSmart team with Zachary. And as he mentioned, we have a number of mobility service partnerships with various vendors throughout the region that employers can gain access. And key to those partnerships is data and monitoring. And so we're working with a pilot partner called Commutifi. They're providing us with a data-driven platform for employees on a pilot basis throughout 2023. So businesses still have access to this platform this year, and the 12-month period actually starts from the start date of your program. So that could be up to December 31st this year. We've launched this program in the past couple of months, and we've been working with several large employers throughout the region, and there is a cost share available for this platform. So a little bit about why we're doing this and how the platform works. We know that doing behavior change, baseline surveys, and ongoing monitoring is really important. So the solution helps us first and foremost understand how employees are getting to work. It helps us grow awareness of sustainable travel options and ultimately encourage more sustainable commuting choices. So some of the features that Esteban will go into a little bit more detail in the next few slides include helping us streamline some of the programs that Zach has alluded to, the Employer Transit Pass program and the TFE. We can also gather data on employees' multimodal travel preferences, and then also measure things like commuting emissions. What are the return on investments of programs if employers are putting funding into things like incentives and basically the program architecture. And we really want to, with this pilot, encourage corporate and public sector leadership and help businesses with their ESG reporting so that we can get a better snapshot as well of what scale of impact commuting emissions are having. Next slide, please. So what we do know is that driving is the largest source of GHGs in the region. We also know that employee commuting is responsible for quite a sizable chunk of that as well. And what we want to find out with the pilot and a case study that we'll conduct at the end is really what is the scale of impact of Scope 3 Category 7 commuting emissions, which we know for some employers are over 50% of total emissions. And then we also want to assess the impact of the platform itself and how providing incentives, education tools, and measurement functions also help employers with their programs that they're implementing. In terms of the why and the policy piece, in all levels of government, the BC government, Metro Vancouver government, and TransLink have action items in various policy plans to implement trip reduction programs. Our team has a mandate to help major employers implement these trip reduction programs, these TravelSmart programs, and we do that with the consultation services and strategies that we help them implement. Next slide, please. I'll pass it over to you, Esteban.
Yep, it's good to have everyone on the webinar. So what I want to do is cover a bit what Commutifi is. I'm with the Commutifi team, been working with TransLink for the last 2 years on these programs. So pretty much when we're a software platform and we work mostly with employers on helping bring better commuting. And when we do that work, we see really 3 big challenges that I'm sure a lot of you on the call might have encountered. The first one is on data collection and reporting. If you have a few dozen employees, a few hundreds, or even a few thousand employees, how do you know where employees are coming from, what's available to them, what challenges they have, and how do you then start even measuring sustainability? What's the carbon impact of your employees commuting? What's the impact of different programs you could be doing? I see we lost the slide. So pretty much that's the first. You can go back to the previous one. The second challenge we see is engagement and behavior change. It's once you know that you need programs, once you know what you're putting in place, how do you make sure your employees are aware of it? How do you make sure to maybe drive behavior change and get employees out of their car, get employees into more sustainable modes of transportation? And the third challenge we see is program administration. As you've launched a lot of programs, you might have subsidies, bikes, different programs. Well, someone needs to administer, track, and manage all of that. And we've seen it a lot done with spreadsheets. It's usually a lot of work. So how do we streamline that? These are really the 3 big programs that we aim to solve when we work with the employers at Commutifi. Next slide. So really, if we think of data collection and reporting, there's a lot of things that can be done. We've done that for the last 6 years with the major employers across Metro Vancouver, but also in the US, Canada, and elsewhere. We have dynamic transportation surveys to help really get the picture of, well, if I have 200 employees, where are they coming from? What challenges they have? Are they choosing a commute because of a particular reason? So really understanding your employees. Being able to then see what that looks like on map. How can your employees access your office? Maybe 45% have a great transit commute. Maybe another 20% could be biking to work. So really having that understanding and then being able to baseline sustainability reporting. So really measuring your Scope 3 Category 7 emission and then understanding here's over time how different programs are helping improve your sustainability. So really getting you a good picture of what can be done and where you stand. Next slide. But then as we think about engagement, behavior change, so how do we engage employees? Of course, they all make their own choice every day on how to commute. So how do we tell them about all the great programs we have? Well, what we've worked on with employers is to have education tools. So having a portal where they can access all the information from regional information. There's a lot of programs powered by TransLink, by the cities, by different regional organizations, but there's also programs that are specific to your organization. So we put together a portal to help your employees learn about all these options, help you target communications, help even bring some gamification, some rewards so that you can really engage your employees around a bike to work week or other events that not only make it sustainable, but also make it fun and easy for employees to adopt new modes of commute. And next slide. And of course, as you're getting a lot of success, program administration usually becomes more a bigger effort. So that's where part of the software we have is to help you manage your programs in terms of all types of mobility. So it can go from how do you assign parking passes to your employees? Well, that needs to be tracked. How do you collect vehicle info? You can do that through Commutifi. How do you track which employees are onboarding for maybe a transit subsidy or bike programs or all the different programs you have? We have a digital enrollment so that employees can easily enroll. We can sync with your HR data. This is we've been running these programs with many employers in the region already, including University of British Columbia. We just launched with West Point Grey Academy, which I saw on these slides here, and we're launching more employers to really help both HR teams, sustainability team, facility teams really get a good grasp of the programs. Next slide. So usually, I know we've talked about a lot of things today in the webinar. Why does all of that matter from an employer point of view? Well, there's a lot of reasons. The first one is making sure that your investments don't go to waste. Pretty much, I'm sure every organization here are investing into bikes, into transit subsidies, into a lot of different programs. Well, if we're putting all of that money there, we want to make sure that these programs are used and to the benefit of employees. So making sure that we have the right tools to drive that adoption. The second thing is employee retention and hiring. That's post-COVID, that's actually the biggest reason we've seen employers invest into transportation programs. If you have office workers, a lot of them might want to be remote, and that's the number one reason today why people want to be remote is because of the commute. So as an employer, we're more and more expected to help the employees commute to the office, provide them with sustainable but also easy options. But also if we think of other types of workers, especially in industrial zones or other zones, then there's other challenges around hiring and access to talent, which again, commuting is usually one of the big blockers that is a challenge for hiring. So we've seen great impact on increased retention, easier hiring by putting in place a transportation program, transit subsidies, and other benefits. And that's where the transit-friendly certification that Zach mentioned earlier is also a great perk when you think of hiring. Of course, the other big reason we've seen for investing into a transportation program is sustainability. James said it very well. Commuting and employees driving into work is usually one of the largest source of emission for a company. So if we can solve that or at least reduce the emissions here, we're having a very big impact. And of course, the last one for putting good programs in place is we want to reduce administrative time as much as we can, spend time on what matters and not spend time administering benefits or parking or different programs. So that's really usually when we work with organizations, the different reason why. Next slide. I'll leave it back to James.
Thanks, Esteban. So on the offer itself and how businesses can participate in the pilot, ultimately we want to, Esteban's given a really good summary of some of the features and the benefits and the why. We want to provide an opportunity to all businesses to get at the bare minimum a baseline of what their context is looking like in terms of how their employees get to work, and then we have two packages available to businesses. So the cost share program is available to businesses with over 200 employees, and the free offering is available to businesses with under 200 employees. And we have some cost share available on a first come, first serve basis. So in terms of the differences between the two packages, the cost share program is really designed for larger businesses that have maybe more intricate programs where they have multiple solutions that they're already providing. There is a requirement with the cost share package to offer some kind of incentive or a transit pass benefit. And with that, you'll get fully customized surveys so you can ask any questions that you like, a fully customized education portal. You'll also have access to the trip logging and incentives features, and then opportunities to integrate some of these partners that we work with, like the bike share groups and car share groups as well. And then you'll get all of the employer commuter analytics and modeling and automated ESG reporting for your sustainability purposes as well, and some insights around return on investment. With the free offering, that's for a limited time. So we typically offer that for, a period of 1 to 2 months to get a basic kind of pulse check baseline of how your employees get to work. And we do that to help businesses inform investment decisions in terms of their programs. So that also comes with some basic education tools and trip planning features. So not a customized education portal, but you'll have access to those regional education tools. And yeah, as I mentioned, to help inform decisions going forward. If businesses are wondering, is there something that I should invest in? You first need information to be able to guide that decision-making process. Next slide, please. So as mentioned at the top of the call, we are partnering with several organizations and mobility service providers throughout the region. Among them, Deloitte, Vancity, UBC was one of the first organizations to onboard to the Commutifi platform as well. So they're a good example of a large organization with many thousands of staff and students coming to campus, and they already had in place some program features, and they've added a handful of new features since they've launched. One of those is a transit pass program for some of their employees. They've signed on to the Commutifi pilot. They've also started offering the LiftTango carpool service. They provide parking and facilities management services, and more recently they've onboarded to the Zig e-bike platform as well. So over time, building in more features and value for their employees and students. And yeah, we're partnering with around about 6 or 7 organizations currently, and we do have room to onboard new employers. So I'll leave it at that and pass it back to Simon.
All right. So we will now hear from 2 organizations that have participated in the TFE. Melanie Auld Jewelers, a small business located in Kitsilano, and YVR, a major employer here and multimodal transportation hub in Metro Vancouver. I will now pass the mic over to Zach, where he will introduce our guests and ask some questions.
Thank you so much, Simon. We actually have a third guest today, Katrina Shum from Lush Cosmetics, who will be joining us as well for the testimonial periods. Let me just go ahead and get the questions queued up. So first of all, thank you to all of our transit-friendly employers that are here today on this call. Just going to ask a couple of quick questions about your experience in the program. So the first question I'm going to pitch today is tell us about your organization and how many employees you have in Vancouver. We'll start with Melanie Auld, please.
Hi, so I'm Kendra. I handle the retail operations here. So our company is about 24 people in Vancouver. We have 33 total. We have a Toronto location as well. But I think compared to some of these businesses here, we're one of the smaller ones that has jumped on board with the TFE.
All right, then YVR.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Young. I head up the total rewards here at YVR. So yeah, I think many of you are familiar with YVR as the airport. We have currently about just over 700 employees with 130 employees who participate in the Transit Pass program.
Excellent. And Lush Cosmetics, please.
Katrina with Lush Cosmetics, and I would say we probably have anywhere between like 200 and 500. It really depends on the time of year. We definitely flex up during the holiday season, so that really depends on time of year for us.
All right, excellent. So moving on to the next question here. I'll start in reverse order. So, Lush Cosmetics, how did you learn about the transit-friendly employer certification, and what initially motivated you to provide transit benefits to staff?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we launched our transit sub. So at Lush, we have a 50% transit subsidy for our staff, and we launched it probably about 9 years ago. And I think it really came from a few different things. We championed it as a sustainability and regeneration team. So obviously, from an environmental perspective, is aligned with where we were seeing our environmental impact, but also an opportunity just because of where we're located. So we're right at Marpole Station. There is very limited parking as one pressure. And we saw it as an opportunity to help share the values that we have as a business with our staff. And I'd say over the years, it's really evolved and become really something that staff are looking for as an employee benefit, which was mentioned earlier. So I think that's kind of where it started and how it's evolved over the time.
All right, excellent. Thank you for that. And YVR Airport.
Great. Yeah. We learned of this through our ongoing relationship with TransLink. So YVR works quite closely with TransLink to look for different commuting options for passengers as well as our employees. So beyond YVR, with the 700 employees, we have 26,000 people that live, work on Sea Island every day. So we do have an ongoing relationship with TransLink looking for different solutions. So the motivation has really been about doing the right thing. So doing the right thing for the climate, sustainability, reducing single occupant vehicles on the road, and then also for our employees, improving their overall well-being.
Fantastic. That's really great to hear. And now moving to Melanie Auld, what motivated you, or how did you learn about the TFE certification, and what motivated you to provide transit benefits to staff?
Yeah, so we actually got word of mouth and found out online about it. For us, we used to actually be in South Granville and Mount Pleasant area, and most of our team members drove at that point. But we have just recently moved to Kitsilano, and probably the number one concern from our team was, how am I getting to work when there's hardly any parking around? So this was a great option for us to kind of help solve that problem. Also, just nowadays with hiring new team members that work in retail, something beyond a paycheck, we use that as a tool to get people on board with our company. And then people always loving the fact of like our sustainability efforts. So that was a big highlight for us of wanting to move forward with it.
Excellent. Also great to hear as well. So the next question I have for all of you is, have you observed any changes in attracting and retaining staff or other reported improvements since providing transit benefits? So I'm going to start now with YVR.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely been a great impact. So for attracting new talent to our organization in this scarce market that we're all working in, they perceive the transit benefits as a real big perk for existing employees. I mean, it's just continued to enhance our overall value proposition for them. And again, they see this as a great perk to working at YVR. And I think additionally too, for those who can't or don't take public transit, they also kind of see this as YVR putting our money where our mouth is, which is around the climate, and just having the programs to support that, and it does align with our employee values as well.
Great. And same question to Lush Cosmetics. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you. I think it has definitely become kind of part of the employee benefit package, and especially like I mentioned earlier, hiring a lot of seasonal staff who are working with us during the Christmas season. For us is kind of September through December. I think trying to hire and retain staff is hard nowadays, right? And especially manufacturing folks. And so being able to provide that for a lot of folks who, don't have cars or other ways to get around, I think it definitely is part of the value proposition. And I think like when we first launched the program, we definitely launched it all about sustainability and environmental initiatives. We launched it with a commuting competition, trying to get different production rooms excited and winning prizes depending on like how many points they got, going by transit or going by bike or what have you. And now it's interesting because we've just seen that evolution over time. So now it's just like, yeah, how is that part of the value proposition as an employer?
Excellent. And Melanie Auld.
Yeah, so same. We definitely using it as a tool to attract new talent to our company. More than 40% of our Vancouver team does take advantage of it in some way or another. And we've actually seen it, I think it started at about 30%. And as the months have gone on, more team members see it as such a benefit. And again, just keeping our team members happy in as many ways as possible now. So yeah, we've been, again, huge fan of the program, but nice to see also just, even if you're not, everyone is taking advantage of it, the appreciation of our company offering it at least.
Absolutely. And I'll make a note before going to the final question that all three employers on the screen have actually exceeded the minimum enrollment requirements, and we've seen incremental growth over time. So great job to all three of you for really encouraging this benefit amongst your staff, and we hope to see other employers follow suit. A last question that I have is if you could give any of the organizations on this webinar some words of encouragement to provide at least a 50% transit subsidy to staff and to become a transit-friendly employer, what would those be? We'll start with Lush.
Oh, that's a really good question. Words of advice, I would say, in terms of getting internal buy-in, I think it is really understanding the value proposition to different areas of the business. So whether it's our people and culture team and trying to promote it from a hiring perspective, whether it's from our operations team and talking to them about, staff being able to get in on time and not have to fight parking or what have you. I think it's kind of being able to understand what the value is, whether it's for the brand department to be able to promote it as part of our ethics and our values. I think there's just, how do you promote that within the business to get buy-in? And I do think just on a personal level, for me, it's been like just connecting with people who actually take and use the program individually.
Just want to thank you all again for participating in this webinar. We would like to remind you that we will be holding a webinar in the fall in partnership with Moby by ShawGo. So please don't forget to sign up for the VanGO newsletter to learn more about how your organization can be part of a sustainable commute program. I will now open the floor up to any questions that anyone has.